When I joined Unilever, my mission was to grow the company and grow it successfully. And you can only grow a company successfully if you respond to the needs of society out there. So sustainability, or putting a business model out there that is more sustainable and equitable, is a business model that responds to the needs of the consumers of this world. I always felt that the myopic focus of many companies on the shareholder alone and maximizing shareholder wealth was not a long-term strategy. But I think we have now overwhelming evidence that that is not a good way to run your business. So a multi-stakeholder, longer-term model that has at its core a strong purpose to serve society is a model that I believe is long-term more successful and a tremendous business opportunity. I've always thought about scale becoming an advantage and compensating for the things that would pull you in a different direction. The main thing we do, obviously, is first of all, at the corporate level, ensure that we have a responsible policy as a total company, because ultimately it is the reputation of your total company that decides your long-term success. So we put a strategy in place that we call the Unilever Sustainable Living Plan, which had a simple objective to double the turnover, but to halve our environmental footprint. In other words, decoupling our growth from environmental footprint and increasing our overall social footprint. We have 400 brands, and these brands are our direct connections with consumers. And for us, it was very important that each of these brands fulfilled a strong purpose. And it made these brands very motivating to work for, but it also made them much more effective in trying to find solutions. And anytime we linked one of these brands with the Sustainable Development Goals and created this higher purpose, we saw it accelerating in turnover and growing faster, but we also saw it being more profitable. And that created a momentum that helped us build a successful company over the 10 years. You can't do everything, but with a little bit of, with good, smart people and making choices, you can really excel by bringing purpose to the heart of all your businesses. So overall, I think business has scored well. And in many cases, in many countries, they've actually been earlier to protect their employees and to take action in their value chain than many of the governments. And I think what the COVID crisis has taught us is that there is no healthy people on an unhealthy planet. It has shown us the relationships between nature and biodiversity, health, and climate. So I think it has created a momentum that brought the environmental part higher on the agenda, but also increasingly the social part. And interestingly, the financial market is now interested as well. The financial market has seen that the risk of not treating your people very well or not having good relationships with your suppliers in your value chain can seriously put your business at risk. But overall, I think it has created a momentum that builds on what had already started before the crisis to go to a more responsible, inclusive, and sustainable business model. The reality was before the COVID crisis, we simply weren't moving fast enough, and we weren't moving at the scale that is needed. I think we have a unique opportunity now coming out of the COVID crisis to address that. So companies have discovered that we can work differently now as a result of the crisis. And I haven't met any CEO yet over the last few weeks that tells me that he can be more efficient as they come out of the crisis. So the biggest issue is going to be employment. The biggest issue is going to ensure, especially amongst the young people, that we create not only jobs, but provide also a social safety network. If we do this, then I think we will be in a reasonably good shape. If we don't do this, we risk that we get more polarization, populist governments, nationalism, and we risk actually moving into the wrong direction. It happens to be that technology has developed. We have more data. We know that green jobs are actually economically more viable. We've seen the cost of wind and solar come down. In 3/4 of the world, it's already cheaper than fossil fuel. And we also have discovered that the green jobs are actually better jobs. They're actually better paying jobs. It creates more jobs. and it is a healthier world. So now we have an opportunity to redesign it, retrofit buildings, making bike paths, making pedestrian paths, reforesting our land, trying to accelerate the move to the green energy transformation, stop the perverse subsidies on fossil fuel. If you can put a price on carbon, like more and more countries are doing. And if we do this smartly enough, we can create the jobs and we can create this more equitable and sustainable economy. And then I think we're in a better shape. It's not the COVID crisis that is going to decide how we're going to behave afterwards. It's a collective of us. And I hope that we've taken these lessons on board and start to behave like responsible citizens. But I think that the COVID crisis has increased the level of awareness, an awareness to science and the need to respect science, which many countries were violating behind climate change, a need to have global cooperation, which we frankly have not shown between the governments on many of the issues that were needed to be tackled with COVID, and also a stronger link between the nature and nature-based solutions and the importance of nature to our economy. And COVID has also shown that collective action from the citizens of this world, from the businesses now, behind what we talked, the actions to save lives and livelihoods, I think we are getting into an era of new forms of partnership that I'm very optimistic about. It does require ultimately the governments to be responsible, to put the right laws and frameworks in place. And governments have lately been very short-term and very nationalistically oriented. So can we build up enough positive pressure to also get the governments on board and move responsibly forward will be a big part of the equation. We have a big issue in global governance. So I hope that we can get together again and realize that we are first and foremost citizens of planet Earth. The business community understands it. They see the enormous opportunities. The citizens of this world demand it. Increasingly, the financial market is catching on. Our employees are asking us for it, as we all know. So I think that also if we put all of our efforts together, we can move the governments hopefully as well to the right direction. Anybody who tells you, let's go back to where we came from, or we don't need to do all these things, are fooling yourselves and themselves. And we simply cannot afford that. And frankly, we've never been so forearmed with solutions to do something about it. And it's, again, once more, one of the biggest business opportunities that I've seen in the history of mankind, which makes it so exciting. So the COVID crisis, as well as the climate crisis, have given us an enormous exposure on the risks of leaving too many people behind. So as we go through this transition, we need to be sure that we make it socially inclusive. And again, it would be better for business to be sure that we lift more people out of poverty. We'll also expand the markets. To be sure that we take care of the people in our value chain, will create more loyal employees. To provide a social safety net around people, we'll get rid of a lot of the issues that we deal with now in mental stress or in violence, in other areas of insecurity that we see in society. This is above all a human crisis. And the new leadership form is one of humility and humanity. And that's difficult for some of the CEOs, but it's absolutely key if we want to go out of this. The employees have now discovered which companies care for them and which companies don't care for them. And I can tell you it makes a huge difference. The issues that we have talked about are of such magnitude that none of us can solve it alone. And we need to become all very skilled to work with civil society, with others in our industries, but also with government. We need leaders that are more purpose-driven. And we need leaders that think intergenerational. And these are very important qualities. Interestingly, you find many of these qualities in female leaders more naturally than in male leaders. Somos juntos en esta batalla de construir un mundo mejor por todo el mundo y de asegurar que no vamos a olvidar a ninguna persona. Y podemos hacerlo. Con nuestra fuerza juntos podemos cambiar el mundo